This video is Will Behavior Ever Fix Myers, which is by Donut Boy. I just posted the link to that video in the chat. If it's for you on the YouTube, it'll be down in the description below. Yo, homie Uzi, you didn't gift me 5 subs. That's way too kind of you. That's more than I deserve. Like way more than I deserve. Like above and beyond. Thank you. I'll try to be worthwhile to that, friend. Thank you. If you just got a sub from Uzi, make sure you say thank you, because that was way more than I deserved. Thank you, bud. I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. Yeah, this video is from Donut Boy, and it's going to be covering what we were just talking about, is Will Behavior Ever Fix Myers? I personally don't play Myers that much, despite him being the character that got me into the game and loving him so much, because he is really outdated, and mechanically he's not that interesting at the end of the day. And it's kind of been in need of kind of like an overall or a major update for quite some time, but Behavior doesn't seem to really see it as a priority. So will they ever do anything about it? Who knows? Let's see what Donut Boy has to say about it.
Daylight has many licensed killers and characters, but arguably the most important one in the entire game's history is its first licensed DLC, that being the Halloween chapter. That gave us Michael Myers,
Who got me into the game,
and Haddonfield. This DLC is the catalyst for what DBD is now, a giant crossover of dozens of characters from different media.
Or Smash Bros.
Surely, Myers must be treated with lots of respect from Behavior, right?
Nope.
Well, about that, the Shape is literally the most outdated killer in all of Dead by Daylight. But how did this happen? In today's video, I want to talk about how Michael Myers has fallen from grace, from being one of the coolest and most influential killers to one that has lost his identity and is more of a relic from a different age. Left so untouched that his entire kit has been untouched since his introduction. So, Halloween is Dead by Daylight's first licensed chapter, which is, of course, a big deal.
When they have to be careful comes to licensed killers? Yes, but like, there's plenty of licensed killers that are really good, like Wesker, like Pinhead. Being a licensed killer does not in any way, Apple, imply that your character needs to be bad. If anything, it's kind of like sad that Myers is so iconic and he's just not that very good at the game.
What we have today, with horror from many different franchises, from Hellraiser, Resident
Evil,
with
Nightmare on Elm Street,
Stranger Things, and many
Burger
more.
being bad kind of sucks
to say
too for how popular
DLC
he
is
is.
important to the game's history is a huge understatement. So surely a chapter like this would be treated with lots of care and respect, right? In actuality, this chapter has had a lot of controversy around it since its beginning, from the perks, the killer, and most definitely the map. Now, don't get me wrong here, this chapter isn't something forgotten and completely abandoned like the Nightmare on Elm Street chapter, which I did a video about, but it's definitely nowhere near as popular as it should be. Right now, the Halloween chapter is a very middle-of-the-road DLC in terms of quality, which does make sense, of course. I mean, it was the first of its kind. And for it to still stick around after all this time shows how well the power of having a big name attached to your game is. And while it is pretty average in terms of popularity in the game, it still has a very cursed legacy. This video, however, is focused on Myers himself, and I'll be talking about the perks and map a bit more in another
I like how
video,
the background footage
so
is blind, not even Myers.
Today's video, Miguel. Also, if you can, please like and subscribe. I'm trying
as
to
you should. As you should. This content is brought to you by someone else, so you should support this. Yeah, you should use your words, unlike me. You should support the official release of the video by liking and subscribing to this creator for the awesome content that they put out. Or else nothing will happen. I'll just be mad and disappointed at you.
Really appreciate it if you guys would subscribe and maybe follow me on Twitter, even though I don't really use it that much. But back to the video. Michael's kit for the time was amazing to say at the least, because of course Dead by Daylight at the time had only 4 other killers, that being Trapper, Wraith, Hillbilly, and the Nurse. Compared to those 4, he is something entirely new. A killer who stalks their prey and gets stronger as the match goes on, and can down survivors instantly with his basic attacks, and instantly kill them when he's in tier 3, that is insane. Along with getting an increased lunge distance and faster vault speed. However, just like everything else, his uniqueness and speciality eroded over time, becoming a relic of the past, overshadowed by the newer generations of killers who do what he does better in almost every single way.
Does it better, yeah.
Let's break down his kit and see why Myers has fallen so far over the years. I'm sure all of you know how his power works, so I'll keep it short and sweet. By holding down your power button and staring at survivors, you get stronger, and at level 3 you gain the ability to attack farther, vault faster, and can instantly down or kill with add-ons survivors. Got it? Good. So first let's obviously start with the power. While stalking a survivor, they will shift from being white to red over time, symbolizing the amount of stock energy.
One of the few characters in the game who can just run out of his power, period.
Being fully red,
that's it.
It will no longer give any charge to your power, which means that Michael Myers is the only killer in the entire game to lose his power.
I mean, like, because like even if you talk about other killers, it's more of like a choice. Like even if you get screwed by RNG and you can't reach like traps with Trapper, like, you don't ever run out of his power. It's just becomes super inconvenient to use his power, which I guess is different than just, like, flat out just not being able to use it ever again, which is a possibility with Myers. Realistically, as somebody who started this game playing Myers and has played just hours upon hours and hours and hours of him, I've never run out of stock, ever. Just being real with you. It is a possibility, but realistically, just in practice, it's never actually happened to me, realistically. But there have been times where I have had somebody completely drained, like half the team drained of stock, and that's pretty obnoxious. So, yeah.
Yes, there are a few other killers who sort of have a limited aspect to their power like Pig, but still she has her crouch and increased lunge attack, so she at least has that, while Myers only has Evil Within. This is still his biggest issue to this day, because it means that as survivors keep playing, they can worry less and less about being down instantly, as if they run out of stock energy, that means that Myers can't pop tier 3 and instantly down them. Compare this to other killers who can power up or insta-down. Oni's blood orbs are infinite as long as survivors are injured and his power slowly charges over time, Ghostface can stalk infinitely, and Plague at least leaves all survivors throwing up constantly and can be broken the whole match, versus Myers who can only use his M1. There have been many ways to circumvent this crippling.
That was what Oliver and I's idea were to try and fix Myers, was kind of like a la Plague, like being without stock, like losing your stock points starts applying effects to you. Like some sort of paranoia system, maybe like Doctor, or maybe hopefully not just another debuff character, so just make him exactly like Plague. But just to have some sort of effect start applying as you're drained of your stock, in a sense that you're like you're making the survivors weaker by stalking them. Just something like that was kind of like what we came up with. So yeah.
Issue in his kit, with the most obvious one being, let the energy recharge over time. I get why this is put in place, that you can't farm tier 3 off of one survivor, but then maybe shift the numbers around so you get less max energy from a survivor, but it can regenerate over time. Instead of seeing a group of survivors, and when you go after one, you realize you don't even have enough to pop tier 3. Along with the ability to make survivors expose / instantly down them has obviously increased over time, with killers getting more ways to make them exposed easier. One of the changes I wish they would make would be that as you get closer to a survivor, the less stock amount you would get, especially while in the tear radius. I always felt like stalking at point blank can't even be considered stalking, considering
it's not.
By definition,
it's really
you're
not
supposed to really be doing it stealthily. Being literally right in front of them isn't stalking them. I would personally make it so that the further away you are from a survivor, the quicker you gain it, and the opposite as you get closer, similar to Ghostface's, where if you hide, you get more charge on it. Additionally, I would make it so that if a survivor isn't looking at you or is performing an action, while you stalk them, you would gain increased amounts of stalk energy due to you actually stalking them. One of the best things someone can do is stalk someone right at the start and pop tier 2 on them while they're on a gen and see them panic from the sudden realization of hearing Michael Myers' terror radius. This also applies to Ghostface, instantly going into Shroud to stalk a survivor and pop exposed when you're like 3 centimeters away from them. I feel like this would reward playing and positioning better while punishing stalking and chase and gaining half of a tier 3 by running in circles around a rock, which at that point you're not stalking.
That didn't hit. Interesting.
That is not stalking at all. See, if we compare
it's a Myers video with Blight B-roll, which is interesting.
Myers' stalking power, Ghostface beats it by miles. It's not even a competition.
He does.
No, Ghostface is just what Myers should be. Ghostface's stalk works better, since you can charge it faster if you position well and peek around corners, and you can crouch and stalk to hide yourself.
I think what we're saying is like neither of these characters are good either. like this is the difference between bottom 3 killer and like bottom 10 killer, right? Like these characters are not good. These characters are not good. Even the improved version of Myers is not that good to begin with. That was very loud. It's very not. They're not good. They're very not good. So do with that what you will.
Better. Then, if you try and stalk them in the open, you get revealed and lose the ability to stalk, which is exactly how Myers should work. Then we get into his buffs from tiering up, and they're average at best now, but something that was insane back then at the time. Back then, getting increased vault speed and lunge distance was a one-of-a-kind thing. And while lunge distance still isn't very common, there's a few killers who can do it, and coup de grace. Killers like Wraith, Legion, and Spirit can get increased lunge range, and maybe a few other killers. Then there's the increased vault speed you get, and back then with how slow vaulting used to be, this was huge, as it could shut down many of the strongest loops in the game due to him being able to instantly vault and take a huge lunge, instantly downing a survivor. Now we take a look at modern DVD and, well, we have perks like Bamboozle and Fire Up, and killers who can vault faster like Legion, Wesker, and Singularity. So again, 2 of his once amazing and unique bonuses have become commonplace now. Finally, we get to the whole tearing up mechanic / powering up, and this is another thing that's common now with killers like Oni, Plague, Dredge, who after a certain point in time get much stronger for a certain period. And while Myers still is powerful, compared to someone like Oni, who becomes one of the best killers.
Oni. Myers outside of Tombstone is the weakest character in the game. I would say even weaker than Trapper. I feel like Trapper's Snowball is better than Myers, especially if you get somebody in the basement. I feel like outside of Tombstone, like he's just a M1 killer, 115 killer with knife plus. And he's not even 115 killer with knife until you stalk people for a little bit to be able to get to that point. So you can't even be 115 killer with knife right away. So it's just like he's just incredibly weak. Incredibly weak.
In the game for a short time, Plague's insane corrupt purge potential, and Dredge's rapid map traversal and tons of information, Myers sadly falls behind hard. Remember, all he gets in tier 3 is exposed on all survivors, increased lunge, and faster vaults. Since it is exposed, that means that it is useless against injured survivors, much like Skull Merchant's exposed. So if the team has a few injured people, there's no real point in trying to chain survivors as quick as possible with it. And again, since your power is limited, this means that every second that they waste is a second you have lost permanently, meaning that you genuinely have to make every second of his power count, as it will run out. And then if you kill a survivor who you haven't fully stocked, that means that you've lost a lot of potential stock energy.
Yup.
You have to be incredibly efficient with stocking and playing with your energy if you want to play well. Along with his levels, every time he tiers up, his tear radius gets larger and larger, meaning that eventually you go from silently stalking to loud chasing, which is a detail I do genuinely love, as Myers lifts his knife to go into a rage and down everyone. But this does limit his ability to chain survivors together or go for stealthy plays due to how large his tear radius gets.
Yep.
Compared to Oni or Dredge, who can move quickly and unpredictably, Myers gets a large...
Yeah, which is funny because, like, now, Ghostface, when you fully stock someone, unless somebody else is around to break them out of the Shroud, like, he's completely silent while chasing somebody. But, like, you know, Myers is out here with a giant tear radius, well, in tier 3. It's like kind of doesn't make sense in retrospect, does it?
Tear radius that warns everyone when he's getting close. Finally, the most unique part of his kit is his ability to instantly kill a survivor by his own hand. But as you can guess, it's no longer unique to him. Compared to killers like Pig, Executioner, and Onryo who can kill survivors in their base kit, Myers needs to equip add-ons to use it. Along with that, survivors have to be standing up in order for Myers to be able to instantly kill them. So if you're downed at all, you can't kill them,
or in a locker,
unlike Onryo or Executioner, which makes it incredibly unique as he's the only killer who can just straight up grab you and kill you. But at the same time, it is incredibly easy to counter. See, all survivors have to do to counter this is just jump in a locker. And that's what most survivors do in a chase against him in tier 3 due to how problematic these add-ons are. Survivors genuinely cannot take the risk of him running the Tombstone add-ons, meaning that instead of being able to play the game normally and loop against him, they'd rather just jump in a locker and get hooked, because if you don't, there's a chance he could be running Tombstone then instantly kill you, which is so dumb. The only requirement to use this Mori is that you have to be in tier 3, and that's it. And wouldn't you know it, there's another add-on that gives him infinite tier 3.
Wowee.
While this does sound OP on paper, it is incredibly hard to do. The main part of survivors running out of stock energy, and then the amount of energy needed to hit the tier 3 usually means that survivors have completed 3 or 4 generators, so you're left sitting at 1 generator left. Since it takes so long
for a power, it's not even that good.
There's also the rumor or myth that if his hand is open instead of clenched, it means that he has the Tombstone add-ons, but I still don't know if this is a myth or not. So
I'm not quite sure either.
He gets instant downs,
many killers have a base
kit now. Increased lunge, a few killers have that, and then the perk coup de grace. Increased vault speed, a few killers have that, and bamboozle. Can kill survivors by himself, other killers have that. He really is a product of his time, and along with that, the only OG killer to not get any form of a rework. Trapper has gotten an add-on overhaul and buffs, like being able to hold 2 traps. Wraith has gotten add-on overhauls and base kit Windstorm, which made him feel so much more fun to play. Ability rework, yuck, ew, gross, ugh. Nurse got reworked and reworked add-ons. Hell, even Huntress, who came after him, got a rework for her add-ons and nerfed the iridescent head add-on, which breaks the game. And Freddy got an entirely new power and kit. Then there's still the fact that the Twins rework is on the horizon. I don't know. They might not even be working on it. Who knows? My point being that Myers is the OG, the one that started it all. Yet he hasn't gotten jack shit besides an outfit and some weapon. I ask you, is that really what he deserves after giving Dead by Daylight what he has to this day? Sure, he isn't forgotten like some of the other chapters, but he definitely needs a rework or buff like I mentioned before. He most definitely needs an add-on pass like the other killers because Tombstone Piece is by
And he got
far
one.
the most...
He got one. And they didn't touch Tombstone. He got an add-on pass, and they didn't touch the Tombstone add-ons at all. They're like, those are cool. But those remain mostly intact, besides some minor changes.
Overpowered add-on in the game because you
Freddy is
literally
bottom
get to
5.
delete
Freddy at least
someone
has
from the
map
game by
mobility.
pushing one button. I really do hope he gets some
And
love soon,
obliviousness.
since Myers is such a great beginner killer overall to get people.
So he
into
has
the game
more
on
than
both sides.
Myers does.
He's a perfect jump scare machine for beginners and is pretty fun to play at times. However, once you start playing the game more and more, he becomes a joke with a power that shuts itself down if you fuck up too much, which I hate.
Yeah.
He obviously is nowhere near as bad kit-wise as someone like
What the
Freddy
heck
or
is happening?
Twins, but still, he's just not special anymore and skirts by on cool factor alone.
Oh, he
which
was
I
lagging.
will admit, he's pretty cool, but not as special anymore. But he's not as viable as other killers. Myers, in a certain way, is a perfect time capsule of his era. His add-ons and power haven't been touched at all and shows exactly how old Dead by Daylight was, with a very simple power, weird perks, OP as hell add-ons. But as time went on, we got characters like Ghostface, who does what he does better, and Onryo, who is infinitely more annoying and better at applying pressure.
And
Again,
we'll be
Myers
beginning
isn't
both.
a horrible killer or a bad killer at all. I just feel like he's incredibly outdated. So with that, take care of yourselves and have a damn good one.
So, like, with him, like I said, like, what I would like to see is like what I said. I would like to see some sort of effect applied as your, like, some sort of effect. They are going off. I would like to see some more of effect applied as you lose stock. So not only does Myers get stronger progressively as he, you know, goes up in tiers and all that stuff, but also I hope that like there's some sort of like effect that gets applied to the survivors as you run out of stock, and then it's up to either like just, you know, some base refill or something in survivors agency that they have to do to refill their stock to try and fight off those negative effects. And if you want to keep like the aspect of him that's like I insta kill people, you can tie that to the paranoia system or whatever that you have by like losing a bunch of stock, and you could just like keep that but make it more fair and not just like I stare at you and now you're dead and now it's a 3v1 super early, he's stupid, you know. But I still think that would probably be a really good way to buff him, and it wouldn't make him too strong and make him like low B high C, put him kind of like that doctor area, right, without making him the worst character in the game to play, you know. That's all we want. Like, we don't want I don't want Myers to be like a super A tier or an S tier character or anything. I just want him to be usable. I want him to be average. That's all. I just want him to be average, and he's so far away from that right now outside of his Tombstone add-on. So it bothers me that Mikey is considered a stealth killer when the premise of him is to be louder and more dangerous than... Yep. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. So I feel like that would be my big change, my big overhaul to him. Just to bring him up to like C or B tier. Then we'll worry about the rest later.